this is JC. Welcome to Urban Knife Guy, where we explore the urban knife style and jungle survival. Today we're going to have a look at the Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. It is a folding knife, but I got it specifically for outdoor EDC. First, if you watch this channel regularly but have not subscribed, please do so to help the channel out. And if you'd like to support the channel even more, do check out my shop links in the pinned comment or description below. You can even join as a channel member for exclusive videos. Thanks a lot. So I've had my eye on this for probably at least 2 years now. So I've always thought of getting a folder for the outdoors. Now I do carry fixed blades when I go out to the jungle environment, but I thought there might be situations or scenarios where I might want to carry a folding knife instead. Maybe I'm going for a light hike, I don't want to bring a combat belt and a fixed blade, so a folding knife that is sturdy might fit well. So I've always been on the lookout for various folding knives and what I thought would work well for the outdoors. That means something that could theoretically replace a small fixed blade, so it can take some kind of abuse and do the work that you might need outdoors, and in my case a jungle environment, but something you can fold and it is rather compact and lightweight. So after all my searches, I decided to get this, and that's the Ultimate Hunter. And I was actually deciding between another cold steel knife, that's the AD-10, which both in fact are developed by Demko. This one, Lynn Thomas did play a part in it in terms of the development. But they are similar in the sense they're both heavy-duty folding knives. The blade steel is the same, it's S35VN, and the blade size is about the same length. Well, it's the same length, but the AD-10 has a wider blade, also slightly thicker blade stock as well. So I was comparing the two, and I decided ultimately, pun intended, to get the Ultimate Hunter, and I'll share why as I go through the video. So this is the packaging that it comes in, and I should mention the one that I got is actually the pre-GSM cold steel era knives. So this is before Lynn Thompson sold cold steel, so this would be quite an older batch, but still made in Taiwan. Now I've no idea what the quality is, or if there are any differences between the cold steel Ultimate Hunter after it was sold to GSM, but in any case this is the older model, and I've heard generally quality has dropped after being sold, so I'm happy to get this version. So that's the box, and inside we have this is a left-handed clip if you want to switch it up, and then we have the folder itself, and this is it. I think it's quite an aesthetically pleasing knife, and it is a large folder, so I won't consider this personally for me an urban EDC folder, but it's the size I want if I'm going to the outdoors. Thumb stud for kind of a rolling deployment. It's, I think, quite hard to flick it open. Yeah, maybe if you do a wrist flick as you thumb it, you could probably flick it open. And it's got the triad lock, which is basically proprietary to cold steel. Now when I first got it, it was very hard to disengage. That means you have to press it down like a lock back, but it was just really stiff. But over time it actually has loosened up a bit. Other than that, handles G10, sculpted, CNC machined. I find it just comfortable. And then the blade itself, nice thick blade stock, drop point blade. Just overall, I think in terms of ergos, I find it pretty good. But before I get into more thoughts, let's go through some specs. So this knife has a blade that's 3.5 inches long. The handle is 5.0 inches. The handle is 5 inches long, and the overall length is 8.5 inches long. The weight is 4.9 ounces or 139 grams. So it's not that heavy, and the reason is there are no liners. Now, even though there aren't any liners, I do find this quite sturdy, so I'm pretty happy with that because it's got pretty thick G10 scales there. Now the blade thickness is 3.5 millimeters. It features a drop point blade. The grind is a flat grind or a really high saber grind, which is nice. And the blade steel is American S35VN, which is a very nice steel, great corrosion resistance, decent edge retention, and tough enough for the task I would put this through. and tough enough for the task that I would put this through. The handles, as mentioned, they're machined G10, and just overall, I really like this knife, and I think I'm glad I got it. Now, I should mention, kind of a disclaimer, I've never really worked with the AD-10. I have seen it, I've handled it, but I haven't worked with it. But in terms of the overall difference, the AD-10 is much heavier, it is thicker, and it's just beefier. And if that's the sort of knife that you like, then yeah, by all means, go with it. Now, they both have the triad lock, so in terms of the security and the safety of that lock, I think basically they'll perform the same. Now, the AD-10 also has aluminum liners, so that makes it heavier and thicker. So in terms of a weight difference, I think the AD-10 is about 6.9 ounces, which is about 196 grams. So the AD-10 is 60 grams heavier than this. And for a pocket knife, that does make a difference. Now, the closest thing I think I have to an AD-10 would be this. This is a real steel H7 snow leopard. As you can see, it looks really thick. Now, similarities are similar style of opening, thickness of the knife, and it's also a lockback. Not a triad lock, but it's a lockback. So, of course, not exactly the same as the AD-10. I think there are similarities, and you just make that kind of comparison, you can probably see some of the similarities, and you can see the thickness different there. Now, the AD-10 does have a thicker blade stock at 3.8 millimeters. This is 3.5. This, I believe, is just under 3.5 as well, but you can see there's a swedge. That's why it looks a bit more tapered. But the blade stock, if you look at the kind of the spine, you can see that thickness. This also has liners. It's also got G10 handles, so similar to the AD-10. So this knife, which I'll review in time to come as well, is a very beefy knife. It's much heavier, and I'll share my thoughts then. But for now, let's go back to the Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. Now, in terms of an outdoor knife, at least in my opinion, I want something definitely corrosion resistant. If I'm going out to the jungle, I want a very stable lock that I can depend on because I'm doing outdoor tasks if I need to deploy it. I want something rather portable and lightweight. So I do not want something also too thin in the hands because you need a certain level of comfort if you're going to be working. Now, anytime you're out processing wood, maybe doing even a bit light chopping, you need to have that ergos in the handle. If not, you are going to get blisters or you're going to get fatigued very fast. So I'll show you another cold steel knife. So this is the Airlight Tanto, and this blade steel is OS 10A. This is the Tanto style blade. They also have a drop point blade, which would be more similar to this. Now, the difference between these two knives, besides the blade quality, is just look at that. It's the thickness. This is designed to be light, right? So there is a purpose, very slim, very light. So G10 scales, no liners, extremely thin. There's a bit of flex, which I don't really like, especially if you want to do heavy work. I'm sure it's not going to break or anything, but I just personally don't like that feel in terms of that flex. But a great knife to put in a kit, or if you want a EDC, a longer knife, but just want a very slim profile, yes, this would be perfect. Now, this comes with a triad lock as well, and this lock, see, disengages just so much easier. And honestly, it was easy when I bought it. So if I compare these two knives, why wouldn't I just use this outdoors? Why would I want to get this? Simply because I find it a bit too slim, doesn't have that, at least the feeling for me in terms of a purchase and ruggedness. Because it's too thin, if I'm going to grab it, I definitely do feel the hot spots here. So it's not really, to me, for outdoor kind of prolonged use work. So that's why I won't use this, for example, as my outdoor EDC. And that's why I went to look for a knife which I thought would, and therefore came up with this in terms of my findings. Great blade, I think, for bushcraft. I actually like a high saber grind. That's my preferred grind for bushcraft, not a Scandi grind, which a lot of people do like. But it does depend on your purpose. Now, this was designed as more of a hunting processing knife. I've heard it's a bit too thick behind the blade for some of those purposes, like really skinning. They prefer a thinner profile or add in a thinner secondary bevel over here. But at least for me, in terms of processing wood and doing the things I need, I think this would suffice, and we will be going out to the field to test it out. So one last thing I'd like to talk about before we head out to the field would be the handle to blade ratio. Now, I know a lot of people would have an issue with that. They find that the handle is way too long for the blade, and I can understand that. Now this is a canoe style handle, and actually I feel this resembles some of the bushcraft knives which do have longer handles compared to the blade. And the reason is you want to get a good purchase in order to do the work, or maybe if you want to do light chopping in this case, you can actually move back and you have more leverage and more weight forward just because you have a longer blade. So just to give you a kind of a visual example, here's a very common inexpensive bushcraft knife. So this is the Moranif, this is the companion. You can see, not in terms of the exact blade shape and the handle shape, but you can see kind of that similarities. Canoe style handle, slightly, I would say the handle is maybe just a bit longer than the blade, or at least visually it looks like that. So there's that similarities between like a bushcraft knives, and there are many knives actually I think who have this kind of a balance. So I personally don't have the problem with that. It's an aesthetic look. Functionality, I don't think it affects. In fact, I like that great purchase. I have small to medium hands, so if you have large hands, you have absolutely no problem with this as well. So very comfortable, and I've seen reviews, Caucasians who have larger hands, they do like the feel. Some have mentioned they felt it was a bit thin, and that's why they would gravitate towards a thicker knife like the AD-10. But for me, and I think if you have like average hands, you'd probably find this more comfortable, easier to carry around because it's lighter, but can just do all the work that you need compared to, let's say, the AD-10. All right, so those are my in-studio thoughts. Let's head out to the jungle and test this out. I am in the jungle with the Ultimate Hunter. I'm going to put it through some field tests, nothing too crazy, maybe just some notches, stake carving and feather sticking, and I'll just tell you my thoughts in terms of the comfort and the performance. So let's get started. So here are my final thoughts after field testing this in the jungle. I like it, right? If you are looking for an outdoor folder, for whatever reason, you do not want to carry a fixed blade, this is definitely something I would recommend. In terms of ergonomics, I found it quite nice. Now, my buddy did find that the scales, the handles are a bit thin, but he has larger hands. I have small to medium hands, so if you do like something a bit more slender where you can get a good purchase, then this is great. But if you want something thicker and beefier, maybe something like the AD-10 or even the Max Force Scout might be something that you would like. But for me, this just works very well. Whether I'm holding it like that in a full hammer grip, or even choking up a bit for finer work for the feather sticks, and holding it back for the chopping, I think it's really capable. Now, I would never recommend you guys battening with this or even chopping with that. I just wanted to see the capabilities, and you know, this tri-lock is extremely strong, no blade play whatsoever, and I felt very confident. Now, if it was another folder, I probably wouldn't have battened to do that notch, but I was quite confident with the tri-lock and just the cold steel knives in general. The blade looks great as well, no deformation, no chips, so all that is good. So overall, I think the performance was great, whether it was heavier work like the chopping, or even the finer work like the notching, the steak carving, or the feather sticks. I think it all works very well. Now, this wood is actually quite wet, even though it was basically just dead for and raised off the ground. But it's a bit too wet, and I think the curls are too thick. It won't catch a spark, but if you put natural jute and then intertwine it, it will catch the spark and it would work. So overall, if I wanted to carry a folder, this is the folder I would definitely carry. Great feel in the hand. I think just the ergos there, no hot spots even with this clip. Maybe a bit when I was doing the chopping. Again, you don't really want to chop with this. That's not its intended purpose. But if you really had to in a survival situation, you then have to beaver chew cut all around the log. And the log that I was hacking at was quite big, probably about 7 inches in diameter. But I know that with persistence, I would be able to get through it. But yes, it will not be the most comfortable experience holding it and chopping that way. But as a regular knife, if you want it for general outdoor EDC tasks or camp tasks, I think this is perfect. I'm really happy with the grind, even with this thick blade stock. You know, it's just very slicey, yet it's holding up very well. So I'd highly recommend the Ultimate Hunter. Well, do you own the Ultimate Hunter or do you have the AD-10? What do you think is better for the outdoors? Which do you prefer? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like the content in general, please subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell. Thanks for watching. Talk to you soon.